What do you think of your Latino brother, Ryan Garcia, and the whole racist rant that he had recently, where he said, I hate N-words, I'm anti-black, bring George Floyd back to life and kill that N-word again?
Yeah, well, I talk about that. I talk about how there's racist Latinos. That's a part of my act. That is a huge part of my act.
Do you think he's racist?
Hell yes. Hell yes. Listen, most people that come from places where, there aren't a lot of black people are racist, or at least very prejudiced, right? Very quick to judge, not know. I didn't grow up like that.
Right, but he was exposed. It's not like he grew up in some small, South American town and came over here and has never seen a black person. I believe he was born in America. I remember, I interviewed Bill Haney, Devin Haney's dad.
Yeah.
And I remember we talked about this, we kept in touch. And I was like, do you think that he has mental illness or he has substance abuse, or do you think he's trolling? And he's like, no, I've known this guy since he was a kid because my son and him used to always go to the same tournaments. He used to always end up in the finals. We've known each other forever. Right. He's been around black people. There's no black people boxing. You've never been around black people? Come on, ridiculous.
Right.
You've been around black people
so he's just
the
racist.
whole time. He's just racist.
He's either racist or trying to get a reaction in the stupidest human way possible.
Right. For example, when I had Tariq Nasheed on my show, right, and he's like a real pro-black guy, big on foundational black Americans, meaning not black immigrants, only descendants of slavery and so forth, right? And when I asked him this question, he said, well, from his perspective, he thinks that Ryan sees himself kind of as the great white hope. In a way, he feels that his fan base are whites and Latinos, and he's trying to pander to them because a lot of them are racist.
Right.
And he's playing up the whole racial part when he fights black fighters and so forth.
Right.
A lot of these guys, man, in order to ingratiate themselves with certain audiences, a lot of the boxing audiences, a lot of them harbor a lot of anti-black racism because it's all about rooting against the black guy. Just like with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather got that money, all the money that he has and all the success that he has because people were rooting against him. They wanted to see him get beat so badly by a non-black person.
Do you think that's true?
No.
No?
No, because if you're not racist, you don't ever want to be called a racist. You don't ever want people to think of you as a racist. It's important to you. If you're not really racist, that matters.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Look at you. You brought up a word. You didn't call me a racist, but I immediately gave you a bunch of reasons, a bunch of things. I gave you a shitload of perspective to let you into my world so you could see how I think, because I don't want anybody to think I'm a racist. The fact that he doesn't care that they think just lets me believe that he is one.
Yeah, I remember there was this video floating around. They're like, look, Vlad says the N-word. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm saying a bunch of words at once.
Right.
And they're trying to say it's that, but if you slow it down, clearly I'm not saying it.
Correct.
So yeah, it does. If you're not racist, it does bother you to call yourself racist.
Correct.
People call you racist.
Right.
But to say, bring George Floyd back and, kill that N-word again.
Yeah.
That's pretty racist.
It's very racist.
That's pretty racist.
Especially for somebody born in this country and in a sport where there's a lot of African Americans or a lot of black people, period.
Well, it's dominated by African Americans, right? Boxing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
I mean, Latinos too. It's basically a poor people sport, right? It's basically, because that's the only person. There was one fighter, his name was Prince Hassim or something like that. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
He was an amazing fighter. Right up until that one fight where he got hit really hard and then he quit. Because that's what happens when you're rich. When you're rich and somebody punches you really hard in the face and you end up on Queer Street, by the way, that's what they call it, Queer Street. It's not my thing.
Queer Street? I haven't heard this before.
Queer Street is when they hit you and you don't fall, but you're wobbly and you don't know where you are. That's what boxers call Queer Street.
I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe you.
But I grew up, maybe it's a term that got lost in time, but me and my dad used to go watch boxing at Olympic Auditorium when I was a little kid. So, those guys. like the hardcore guys, the ones that it wasn't even boxing, it was just punch them, just fight. There was no style, bro. It was just like two guys like roosters just going at it with each other. Yeah, that kind of stuff was was a part of it. But I think if you're not afraid to be called a racist, there's gotta be something in you that can defend whatever racist attitude you have. This is my personal. I grew up, like I told you, in the projects with some really, really good friends. We fought for each other. We bled a couple times for each other. We took bullets for each other a couple times. I will not name my friend's name, but his uncle got shot by a black guy. We were in the car. We were driving to Disneyland. I don't know how it came up, but he dropped an N-bomb with a hard R, bro. And I said, listen, bro, if you say that word again, you're going to end up walking home. I'm not kidding, dude. Like, being funny is one thing. You're being serious and you're angry. Not in my car. And then he said, I don't give a... And then he dropped it again. And dude, I'll never forget, bro. I pulled over off the 5, just past the Commerce Casino. Pulled over, got out, told him to get out of my car. And I just took off and left him right there on the side of the freeway. That's how I feel about actual racism.
Well, didn't you say that your cousin got shot in the back?
Yeah.
And ended up in a wheelchair?
Mm-hmm.
What was the situation about?
So that was a big cluster F because the guy who shot him had kids in his room all the time. He was the 15-year-old guy that had kids in his room all the time because he would let us play with his albums and, do all this stuff. So the story was that he was in ROTC and he was flipping the gun and it went off.
Oh, so it was an accident.
That was the story.
Huh, okay.
Turns out, years later, I'm doing an interview. I think it was for Nightline. And I was like, they asked me a question, and I don't know why. I was very vulnerable at the time. And I was like, the guy up there, and I said his name, was like, yeah, he's a pedophile. He sexually abused me when I was a kid. And my brother was there. And I don't know, I felt something weird coming like a burn from the side of my face. And I looked over to my brother, and I was like, what? He did it to you too? Dude, and then all of us got together, and he did it to all of us. So then when I found that out, I went to Benji and I was like, hey, bro, did blankety blank molest you, bro? Did he like? And he was like, started crying. And he was, not only that, the way they say he shot me, that's not what happened. Turns out that he actually pointed the gun to another kid. The other kid got so scared, started crying, pointed it at my cousin, pulled the trigger, didn't realize there was a bullet in it, and shot him. So the guy, I came this close, bro, to ruining my life one time because of him. Because I was coming home and I was a drug dealer at the time, and I wasn't the good person, wasn't trying to make people happy or laugh. I had a 9mm with me, and I said something to him, and he didn't respond with I'm sorry or anything like that. And I remember he said, what are you gonna do about it? And I pulled out a gun on the guy, man. And I was about to shoot him. Was it not for my mom, who heard what was going on and yelled out my name?
So you were molested as a kid?
Mm. By that and by a priest, so.
By 2 people?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Both of them men?
Yeah. And I was sexually abused by my 15 at the time. I was 8, she was 15. Had sex with her. She was my cousin. But that was like, it didn't feel rapey. You know what I mean? Because I was like a kid, and it's just looking back, I'm like, Jesus, I was 8 and she was riding me. The fuck was that?
Wow.
So, but that's part of why my comedy is what a lot of people would think is extreme. Because the stuff that I find hurtful, the stuff that I find painful, the stuff that I repudiate is that kind of stuff. Not words. Oh my God, I wish that guy would have just looked at me and said, man, you look hot. I wish I could fuck you. And he hadn't. That would have been great. Oh, that would have been amazing. He didn't molest me. He just said some shit. Oh, that would have been phenomenal. The priest said some stuff, but he didn't touch me. Oh my God, that's amazing. You know, so I see the world from a very different place because my pains run very deep at times. You know what I mean?